Welcome to the Bourbon Experience. My name's Austin, and this is week 3 of my Old Forester Bourbon Heritage Month. Welcome back to the third week of my Old Forester themed Bourbon Heritage Month. So last week was the batches 1, 2, and 3 of the High Angel shares from the 117 series. Before that was the last 5 years of Old Forester Birthday Bourbon Blind. The day before that was the 1910 Extra Old versus the Woodford Double Double Oaked. So keeping this theme going, the third weekend, we are doing the batches 1, 2, and 3 of the 150th anniversary series that was released in 2020. So all three of these are barrel proof. They came in batches 1, 2, and 3. Like I said, they were released in 2020 during that kind of the peak of the bourbon boom. So these were pretty hard to find. They're pretty expensive. I ended up with a batch 2 and batch 3. And I've drank through both of those. And now these are fresh cracks of all three. To be honest, I wasn't really ready to open these up after having finished them not too long ago, but this was too good of a episode to not go in with my Old Forester themed Bourbon Heritage Month. So here we are. These were released under Jackie Zykan before she left, and it is to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Old Forester. On top of that, there were 150 barrels selected for these batches. The barrels were seasoned for 150 months, and I don't think MSRP was 150, but it makes sense if they were. So, and the barrels that were put into this varied between 6 and 8 years. Old Forester typically does younger release stuff because they use the heat cycle warehouses. So that's pretty on par with Old Forester's motif. So with all that, let's get into it. As I'm pulling this bottle up, if you could please like, comment, subscribe. I do a lot of giveaways. I just gave away an Old Forester 22 and 23 birthday bourbon. And I will be wrapping up my Battle of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs, Battle of the ECBPs tournament at the end of this month, where I'll be doing a giveaway. So get subscribed and then make sure you get entered into those giveaways. So batch 1 is, these are all uncut, unfiltered. Batch 1 is 62.8% or 125.6 proof. This is the only one I haven't had. So I'm actually really looking forward to trying this one because I've had a full bottle of both 2 and 3. Now, each batch was made for a specific profile. So it's not like they just released them in 3 different batches and they were just broken up into 3 batches. Jackie Zykan was trying to get a different profile for each batch. And I can say that was really evident in batches 2 and 3. So let's see about batch 1. It's got a nice color on it. I would say especially for only being 6 to 8 years old. I think that's what that heat cycle warehouse does. I'll say all of them came in these cool tubes. The front of the tube says 1870 Brown Forman, and it's the front of their 117 address on Whiskey Row. So if you're ever down there in Louisville, it's the front of the building is what's depicted on these tubes here. Okay, so this one I immediately get this maraschino fruit cocktail cherry, which is pretty consistent with Old Forester. It's a little, I don't want to say it's light on the nose, but it doesn't jump out and like punch you in the face. There's a light nuttiness, and then there is some like cherry syrupness that goes into it, which is pretty on par with the Old Forester profile. Yeah, I'm not getting any of those lighter fruits that I sometimes get, like apple or pear. It's pretty right in the wheelhouse realm of like a maraschino cherry, and then some nuttiness. And then there's like a caramel that I hate using that because it's such a common term used for basically every bourbon, but there's a light caramel to it. I'd say like a salted caramel versus a burnt caramel versus a creme brulee type topping. It's like a salted caramel. So let's get into it. Cheers. That's really good. That drink's hotter than the other ones, just off of memory. So that cherry thing's in there, but there's a cinnamon red hop, there's a barrel spice, there is a syrupy mouth coating texture to it. I think that what stands out to me is the heat behind it compared to the other ones. And I'll compare the proofs in a second, but second sip, the proof is mellowed out a little bit, but it's almost like cinnamon red hots or like a cinnamon syrup that you'd put in coffee. Like it has that kind of cinnamon syrup sweetness quality to it. And that goes from start to finish, but also kind of sitting on the top, I'd say mid palate is that cherry. But it's almost like there's two different things going on at the same time on this, which it's actually really nice. What I read about this and what I saw in reviews is that this one was a more fruit forward expression of the three batches, but I'm not really getting that right now. There is the fruit, but it's lacking the other fruits. And I don't think I'm getting any citrus on here. Let me see if there's any of that going on. So the more I drink it, the more it does just mellow out. But those are the predominant flavors that I'm getting. There is a kind of a custard thing in there too, which I got in another batch, which I'll get to. And then I also get that sometimes in the 1924, which I warmed up with because it was 100 proof and these are all barrel proof. So it's a good little warm up. All right, on to batch two. Batch two, I'd say, has more of a floral quality to it. The fruit that's there is darker than just like a maraschino cherry, more in the realm of like Luxardo cherry. Those are the two things that really stand out and differentiate between one and two. Okay, this is the one that my buddy and I, Kev, you've probably seen him in previous episodes. We always get this custard thing on it. That custard is there, the cherry is there, the barrel spice is there. This is definitely more complex than batch one. Batch one just is kind of 3-4 notes maybe. This has a lot going on. It has barrel spice on top of cinnamon spice, on top of custard, on top of dark fruit. The nose on this one's really, really good. And there's kind of like a watermelon hard candy, like maybe a watermelon Jolly Rancher or something like that in this one too. This just, I don't really get the salted caramel on it. I just get candy sweetness, dark red fruit, barrel spice, and then a little bit of cinnamon and custard. That's good. I would say easily I prefer 2 over 3 as of right now. But now we're gonna move on to what has always been the darling of the 150s for me, batch 3. So batch 3 definitely is darker than the other two. The nose is darker. It's not floral. It's dark syrup. It's dark sweet oak. It's almost like there's an amaretto sweetness, like a almond liqueur, or maybe you can say almond butter, but for me, that Di Serono amaretto liqueur is a more accurate way of describing it, because it kind of ties in that dark syrupiness on top of that almond note. Maybe orgeat too, like the sweetener or the orgeat syrup. It's a almond syrup that people make cocktails with. Mai Tais most commonly. Yeah, now that I said that, it almost smells like a Mai Tai cocktail. Like I could be in a tiki bar right now. I really prefer the nose on this one over all 3. So far, each batch has gotten better. On the nose, and then we'll confirm here in the palate in a sec. Oh yeah. It's on a different level of darkness and sweetness, which is right in my wheelhouse. There's a cherry note, but it's not, I wouldn't say Luxardo or maraschino or fruit cocktail. There's a dark cherry note, a dark syrup. This is almost like if you use syrup to make a cocktail, like a cherry syrup of some kind. Man, that's really good. There is cinnamon, there is barrel spice. So that cinnamon note kind of goes through all three of them I've gotten. Yeah, the cinnamon, this is like a cinnamon Jolly Rancher, like a cinnamon hard candy. Not a Mike and Ike's or a Hot Tamales, but like an actual hard candy. That amaretto note is in there. Everything on the nose does translate to the palate. And this is just, I don't know, I like those darker flavors. So for me, this is definitely my preference of the three. These go for $325, $350 secondary. I don't know what MSRP was right off the bat, but I think if you lucked out, you could get them for around like $200. So the markup's not ridiculous on these. I think all three of them go for $1,100, $1,000, like right if you bought them as a package on secondary. That's kind of what they go for. I got all three for my backups of 2 and 3, but a set of all three for $900 in my local, one of my local groups for full transparency. Yeah, 3 is just, I'll run through 2 and 1 again real quick, but 2's good. It's just lighter. The custard, the watermelon candy thing is there after trying it. And 1 is good. It's just, it is lighter than the first 2. And the thing that jumps out is the cinnamon candy, cinnamon syrup is what really stands out on 1. I do like all of them. My preference is 3. The first time I had the batch 2, I shared it with, I don't know, a bunch of people, but after the first go-arounds of trying it for the first time and then sharing it, I wasn't overly blown away. And then I let it sit for a long time, maybe 6 months or so. And then we just kind of randomly came back to it one night. We were getting ready to wrap up the night. We're like, okay, what's our last pour gonna be? I go, let's give this a try again. And then all of the really good notes that I described right now on this fresh crack, they just really amplified over that time of being open and chilling. So it'll be interesting to see if 1 gets exponentially better. I know 2 will, because I've been through it. 3 is always just a clear-cut favorite, and see what all 3 of them together do. All 3 is has a pleasant nose. I get the floral from 2. Definitely get a dark cherry. I get a little bit of that amaretto liqueur thing from 3. It's kind of like the main notes of each one come together and stand out. The nose is actually really pleasant. All 3 are really good. I forgot to mention the proof on 3 is 126.5, 126.8, so 63.4%. 2 is 63.2, 126.4, 126.4 versus 120. So 2 and 3 are basically the same proof. And yeah, 125.6. They're all very, very close in proof point. It's just funny how some of them drink hotter than the others when they're all really, I mean, the proof is negligible between these 3, but all 3 of these together, it tastes proof down than any one of them by themselves. That's why I went through and double checked the proofs, because I was going to say whatever the highest proof one doesn't drink higher now, but yeah, all of them together, it's a more approachable, easier drinking, if you will. That's really good. I would say I would go batch 3 by itself, then the blend of the 3, then 2, then 1, if I was going to rank all 3 of them. But yes, stick around for next week and the week after will be my final 2 episodes of the Old Forester themed Bourbon Heritage Month. And then same with the Battle of the ECBPs, that should be wrapping up right around that same time too. If you followed me along for either two September projects, I appreciate it, and we're going to wrap these up here in the next few weeks and then move on to some other stuff. So that's where I'm leaving this one. As always, the bourbon experience is all about good pours and great times with whoever you're with. Listen to be enjoyed, so crack those bottles. Cheers.